Costco.
You get that much?
Yeah, man. We got it, and then we went to somebody else's house with the kids, so we weren't even here to give it out.
Oh, wow.
This is Rowena Dooley asking Sol citizens to report for duty. Dooley asking Sol citizens to report for duty.
And greetings. Welcome back to Soul Citizens. I'm GriffinGamingRPG, and we are back. Today is November the 11th, Sunday, first Sunday of November, and our continuing weekends of discussing CitizenCon 2953. Yes, it's been 2 weeks, but yes, we're still riding the wave, the crest of the wave, as we continue to discuss the various sessions that took place at CitizenCon this year. And we have an illustrious panel once again with an even more illustrious guest joining us. And we're going to start out with our guest first. And you guys know the familiar face and you know the name. And that is Starjump Grim from Starjump Station. How are you, Grim?
Hey, everyone. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on tonight. We're talking about my favorite subject, ships.
Yes, I think you acted like you were sick last week just so you could come on this week. I think that was a part of your master plan, was to be on the ship show. He says, I don't want to talk about the engine. I want to talk about ships. So Grim is here this week.
I appreciate all facets of it. No, actually, all the panels were great, but these two, I feel like I'm pretty knowledgeable on.
Yeah, I'm sure this is where your heart is. So again, thanks for being here. And also, somebody said, I feel good. Somebody who's feeling good to us, y'all, that quickly. Was that Gomab? Oh, Gomab. Gomab just keeps giving and giving. Oh, my goodness. Thank you. All righty. Yeah, I do want to always say this too, Grim, and I know that you always do as well, but the folks at Starjump are just an awesome team of folks. Even though Grim is the face that we usually see on our show, they are made up of Starjump Grim, Starjump Starlet, and Starjump Ender. So shout outs to them. Grim is always the face that represents that team. And we know as always, they're going to be working on something new for the Star Citizen community, which we'll let him talk about later on toward the end of the show. But for now, Grim, once again, thanks for being here.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Let me move over to your left, Grim, and let's introduce YoyoMeg. Meg, what's up? How are you?
Hello. I'm doing super great.
You know what? Gomab, what's your name? Fastcart? Yeah, okay. Let me ask you guys something. let me ask you something. Have you noticed this thing that Meg has been coming out of that hoodie? Have you guys noticed that?
She got the heat popping over there,
I'm
man.
telling
she
you,
got it on 74,
you know what?
nice and toasty.
You know what? I think she is on a mission This is going to be her statement to Cloud Imperium Games about that hair. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what this is really all about. She wants that hair, and she is showing it that the hair has got to come curly, right? Is that it, Meg? You said curly.
Absolutely.
All right. So she's making a statement.
You're still in Texas, right? They can call you up for as a model, right?
There you go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, hey, she's gonna show the hair, so that I hear you. I love it. All right.
Well, that's why I'm like, modeling my beard. You know what I'm saying?
I was about to say we're gonna go from hair. I was about to say we're gonna go from hair on the top to hair on the bottom. GomabQTL is here. He's showing it off. And matter of fact, we need to make sure that we get that. You know what was cool, Gomab, when they do, and we know it's not on this show. When they did that hair dye where they shifted the color, they need to do that with our beards. We can shift that black and that gray in. You know what I mean? We can make the change that. They need to make sure that happens on facial hair too. So, yeah.
Salt and pepper all day, man.
There you go. How you doing? You doing okay, man?
Hey, man.
You set? All right.
We good.
All right, good. And last but not least, the one, the only, fastcart FC. What's up, buddy?
Oh, see, you're trying to throw me off, man. You're trying to throw me off. Let me fix that real quick before I say anything. Here, 2,500. There it is. Okay, here we go.
What happened?
Hi, I am fastcart FC. Welcome to Soul Citizens, and today is November 5th instead of November 11th.
Did I say November 11th? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, November 5th. And, talking about gray hairs and everything like that. No, I'm going to know y'all. I'm going to know y'all because I put it in. Instead of having just for men to make it all one color, I'm going to invent just for old men, make it all gray for So, yeah, I'm going to do that.
Just for old men. Oh, my God.
The silver fox.
There you go.
The silver fox.
There you go. There you
space.
Go. Well, now that you all know who all of us are, we are going to jump into it. As we mentioned last week, we did the opening session of CitizenCon where they talked about Star Engine. And this week, we're going to pick up two very interesting topics. We're going to be doing Fix It, Fly It, which was session 2, and then session 3, Talking Ships 2953. We will be stopping during the video from time to time. If there's something that interests us, feel free to put stuff in the chat. Don't forget to use the token at the bottom with the little eclipse if you want to ask us a question or have a question addressed toward the end of the show. But we will be stopping and talking about things. Let me do a quick roll call too. Gomab and Meg both attended CitizenCon for their first time this year. Fastcart and I were there for our 3rd year. Grim watched remotely. So we are getting feedback from different perspectives, people who've been to CitizenCon, someone who has not been to CitizenCon, and someone who's gone for the first time. So just kind of be aware of that, and there may be questions that come up just because of that. So that's going to be the name of that tune with that, okay? All right. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it here. I don't know if there's a long startup on this. Hopefully it's not, because this is the edited version. There we go.
I'm Thorsten Leimann, lead systems designer for the EUPU team, and welcome to this little presentation of our most ambitious feature that we are working on for quite a while already. We already talked about it several times, but this time it will be a little bit different. So before we start jumping into the presentation, here's a little disclaimer. Everything that you are about to see in this presentation was done by the EUPU team, so, well, mostly. We got help from the vehicle content team and the VGPU team. So what you will see here is mainly placeholder art that was either done by Guillermo, Bastien, or me, so members of our team, and it's gameplay that we focus on in this presentation. So what you will notice here is also that the UI is still work in progress, so visual changes even throughout this entire presentation. So we are still iterating. But let's start with the actual presentation. Those that follow us for quite some time probably know about the resource network already, but let's do a brief recap. We will be talking here about our technology, that is resource network, and the engineering gameplay that can be called a child of the resource network. The engineering task will allow you to manage your ships, outposts, and possibly other things.
Thank you, Jade.
Let's have Guillermo talk about the technology first. So welcome on stage, Guillermo.
Thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Guillermo Bilbao, gameplay programmer for this team, and I'm going to talk about the research network. So what is the research network? The main drive for the research network was replacing the previous pipe system you might have heard about with a new system that was more generalized, easier to expand, and that would support all the gameplay we actually want to do. And yeah, so it is a network, as you can see on that picture, showing the connections between different items, even those inside object containers. And it enables specifically the relay gameplay we're going to show right after. So it will have a global impact. You're going to see it in ships, you're going to see it in outposts. It's built to work with the cargo system in some ways. And as for interacting with it, the engineering gameplay we're shown today is going to be the biggest example, but you will also see it in other places, especially in missions. Let's have Thorsten talk about it a bit more.
So hello again. So as a crew member of a ship or as a person managing an outpost, you have several responsibilities, where the engineering topic can be split in 3 activities, and you can decide to share those responsibilities.
Can I stop there for a second? Correct me if I'm wrong. He said manager of a ship or even an outpost. Is that what I heard?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, outposts
I missed
are going
that.
to be completely controlled by this, you know, this
The same thing.
resource network as well.
Okay, yeah, I completely missed that the first time I watched this. Were you say, Gomab?
I imagine outposts are just going to be big ships without engines.
Yeah. I mean, I know we've seen all the facilities and props that they've built and said they're going to interconnect all that, but I just never clicked about somebody being at the outpost having a role like that, you know?
But there'll probably be a lot of crossover between the two, though. For example, though, just like power, like they both will probably have power plants, you know, some type, shield generators,
and weapons, like all that stuff. So, yeah, everything, it makes sense. Yeah.
So, like with all things CIG, if it's built systemically, where everything affects everything, you know, in actuality, then it all should.
So, are we looking
still
at
make sense?
Are we looking at components being a factor in those locations?
Yeah, I was just gonna say where I think they'll differ is component, instead of ship component, they'll use outpost component probably, like a shield, like they just said. So we'll have components for vehicles, not components for vehicles, but components for vehicles and ships, and components for outposts, I imagine.
Wow, interesting. Yep. Okay.
The real question will be
outpost.
Quantum driving your outpost.
The real question will be if you have like a power plant or like a generator failure at your outpost, can you like grab a component out of a ship to like get something working temporarily? We'll see.
Yeah.
I doubt it, but we'll see.
I doubt it.
Well, I mean, again, you know, there's the destruction of the host versus a component, right? Like let's say, for example, your base is being attacked and it's your shield generator being attacked. Is it the fact that, like fastcart said, are there components that, you know, we have to worry about wear and maintenance on those too? You know, they haven't talked about it, but fastcart, I could see that, what you're saying, that they're just like, we've got vehicle components. There will be something that goes into your building or whatever, you know, for power or whatever.
I mean, they could make it simple and make everything like, you know,
like a universal
component. That'll make everything simple, but I don't see them doing that.
Right, exactly. Okay.
Or take them all by yourself. It's really up to you. Every task requires their own skills and their own tool sets. There is tuning. Here you are responsible for preparing your ship. Your journey did not start yet, so you adjust your ship items based on your goals for the travels. Exchange sub-items, adjust the default settings of your power plant, basically operations that require you to turn off the items or even remove them from their sockets. The next activity is maintaining, and this is all about damage control and keeping the items in pristine or pristine enough state. You are the mechanic that makes sure that everything is and stays operatable. Maybe even go further in the sense of caring for the items. And what caring means is here reducing the wear and tear rate by regularly removing dust or oiling the items, just as some quick examples. So let's actually show you some of the maintenance you can already do and will be able to do. So here we start with 2 gameplay mechanics that are already in the game. So technically nothing new, but the entire engineering loop ties them nicely together. Here you saw me collecting IMC, or still collecting, and now I will take the shield generator of the recently destroyed Gladius to use them as a spare part for myself. So all of this is of course optional. So you can purchase those items already and in the future even assemble them for yourself. So crafting.
Okay, another stop there. Gomob, he said the magic word, the C word, crafting. We've wondered ever since they brought in the multi-tool, you know, inside the Vulture, that was going to be the tier 0 example of it. But here they're even telling us being able to craft our own components. I know Fastcart, you talked about back with the Endeavor, that idea of tuning and upgrading, but the idea of actually crafting from raw material is something I wasn't expecting to hear.
I mean, you know, not to be like not positive, but yeah, I think that's great, right? Crafting is, I believe crafting is going to come. I believe this is them looking ahead at things that they would like to do but haven't started. Right. You know, on creating. Like we do currently have crafting in the game, right? Where you can use your Vulture, I believe in the Reclaimer as well, to craft a multi-tool and the actual attachments as well. Right. But as far as, you know, this other stuff, we'll see if it's just a matter of you've got the resources, you've looted or purchased the blueprints, you click a button and things pop out. We'll see.
Yeah. I just didn't expect to hear anything about crafting anytime soon. You know what I mean? I just didn't.
One thing they keep mentioning too, that they haven't talked about it anymore, or actually for years, but they keep dropping this word in here. They keep saying subcomponents, and it's something we haven't heard much about in a long time. You know, just those, you know, the sub items that will be able to manipulate the actual component. Right. But based off what they're talking about, wear and tear and stuff, seeing how the solar flares work in Pyro and just regular usage and all that, I think one stat we're currently missing on components, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out over time, will just be durability, right? So you may not always be going for the component that's the fastest QT drive. You may want the one that's the most durable, right? So I can see a new stat kind of coming into play for components.
Yeah.
Yeah, durability, endurance, that kind of stuff.
When he talked about the person at the beginning, the one who's prepping the ship for those, you know, those 3 levels of operation for the engineer, and he implied the fact that there will be certain components you will pick, you know, right tool for the right job kind of thing, right? Some quantum drives, for example, get you there fast, but they burn fuel like crazy. Other ones, like you said, are more durable. Other ones will, they're not as fast, but you can go twice the distance. You know, your engineer's going to have to know the right thing to put in.
I would personally love for the subcomponents to be where we can really gamify those components. So, for example, if you're going into Pyro, you may want to put a redundant subcomponent that adds redundancy to your power supply, so that if you do get hit by a solar flare, it automatically reboots. You know what I mean? Just instantly. So you could see how like making those choices based off the system or gameplay you're involved in could be really fun.
Yeah. Good point.
I mean, I'm just a min-maxer, so I figure all that stuff when it's available. But yeah, some people like me who love min-maxing are just chomping the bit to get their hand on this kind of stuff.
Okay.
Or maybe a subcomponent that like masks the location, the target location of the primary component on the ship. So it makes it look like your power supply is like over here where it's really over here. So when they're trying to target, they're like, oh, they're shooting the wrong place. The possibilities are endless.
Sure.
While the Fury approaches, you might get the glimpse of a debug UI. So there's the Fury now coming.
This was cool.
I activated the debug UI to show you the health state of each item. And what you should have seen is that the shield generator is fully destroyed and the power plant that I'm about to take out now is in low health. Low health means you can still repair it. So which will be happening now with Guillermo and Pete repairing the power plant after I removed it from the Fury. So it's making it fully functional again.
Beam
and
citizen.
You can see the debug UI, the health is now fully up again, and that means that...
Now this was something I didn't expect. I knew that you'd be able to repair a component. What I did not expect, and they show this later when they do the scenario with the hammerhead, there were 2 people working on that thing to expedite making it happen faster. When they're in that battle sequence with the hammerhead, a second person comes along and takes out their multi-tool and starts repairing it too. So I think that is actually kind of like an all hands on deck kind of thing that could happen. If you're back there by yourself versus if somebody else is back there helping you, it could help expedite doing repairs.
It runs at full efficiency again. And here you also see that the shield generator is at 0 health. So the destroyed shield generator cannot be repaired because it's destroyed. So I have to exchange it with the spare one that I collected from the Gladius.
They got a space litter. Let's just send it out the back.
So with all those repairs being done, the Fury is operatable again and it can go its way.
It would be cool if you can recycle that stuff. Like if you took it to a reclamation and get something for it, you know what I mean? So it's not like completely worthless.
Yeah.
Or you can just sell it for some minor credits.
Or scrap, that's what I mean. I mean, just, I'm saying we got to get to a reclamation place, you know.
So getting back to the responsibilities. A big one is managing your ship, which includes resources, but also more general aspects. You have to manage the power distribution and come up with informed decisions, like reacting to hazards like malfunctions, fire, low energy, but also calling out items that need repair and maintenance. You will delegate the rest of your crew to keep your ships intact, like giving clear priorities of what needs to be done first. Let's take a look at another video here. So this is the first glimpse of the engineering UI in action. It is still being worked on, so it's heavy work in progress. Let's start with looking at the item view. So you can see the full setup of the network with the relays, the green dots connecting to each other, and the relays connecting to the items. Color and shape below the icons should help you identify the different item types, like power plants, weapons, also helping differentiate between consumer, producer, and converters. You can tell the current state of the item, that means the amount of energy it produces, consumes, or has stowed, the health state it is in, the current wear and tear on the item, and the current state it runs in, like charging or being in an idle state. You can directly interact with these items, turn them on and off, and in the future even switch their states. If you hover over a relay, that I will be hopefully doing soon, you will also see that the amount of fuses that are still active and because a relay consists of several fuses, basically they are their own set of lives. And here you see all the details. And you can click on the items to see a 3D render of the power plant here, the control drive, sorry. And here's the relay overlay. Here Pete shoots a relay to show the UI updates on the screen. So once this relay got shot at, you will see the update here on the UI that suddenly the entire right-hand side of your ship lost power connection. And what you might have not picked up on the screen is that actually the power plant here that I'm now focusing on is on low health. So I'm commanding Simon to repair the power plant to get it fully operational again. So, something to highlight here. Take a closer look at the doors. Since we also track the door states, you see that you can watch movement inside your ships now nicely. So you can track players moving around in your ship and even close doors for them, or like compartments in this case where Simon just forgot to close the compartment.
I want to know what happened when you repair beam on a
so
person.
Pete destroyed the relay. We need the ship in fully functional state. So yeah, I'm running now with a fuse and place it in the relay, so make the relay work again. What you can also do with the doors is that you can create safe pathways, because you sitting at this engineering screen have more information in regards to your ship than the others. So you open doors to create a path that the players on your ship have to take.
So
now to the
one point, I don't know if I caught this when watching a lot of the panels at CitizenCon, whether it was like the first-person shooter stuff, bounty hunting, whatever they were talking about, they would always reference the maps and this and that. And then obviously we had the new star map reveal and stuff, and then obviously the engineering gameplay. It just really struck home that a ton of gameplay loops are going to be tied to the map now, where right now it's just our star maps from traveling to A to B. Now a ton of stuff is going to be tied into this map system. So I hope they're taking the appropriate amount of time with it. I hope they're going to test it in a really robust way, both internally and externally, because with all these gameplay systems tied to it, it's going to be even more critical than it was before,
Yeah. I'm excited to see that you can track people moving in your ship.
Yes.
So that makes the new trespass system in your ship make a little bit more sense, right? Especially if you're able to see, like, if there's a difference between people that are in your party versus who that
right
on your ship. You could just look at that screen, because that's been my biggest challenge with the new trespass system, is that it it gives the advantage of the stowaway. But if you have this system to be able to kind of look, and that's because like the MSR has all those tunnels and stuff below. Like, are you telling me that every time I get on the MSR, I gotta walk through all of those and make sure somebody's not hiding in a hidey hole? That if you want me to never fly the MSR again, that's how you do it.
I assume you'll be able to have like lockdown control on those doors too. Like, I would imagine you close them and then turn off power to them to where someone couldn't move past them without cutting through or something,
or hacking it or whatever. Hold them up. You can contain them.
Ultimately, the engineer, like the chief engineer on a ship, honestly probably needs to be your most trusted crew member. If they have that much control over your components, your doors, and I'm sure atmospherics, like pressurization, oxygen, gravity, they're probably going to have control over all that. So that's going to be your most trusted crew member
and knowledgeable, right? They've got to know the ship.
Engineer for one reason, one reason and one reason only, because I want to be able to say,
let me ask Meg a question. Grim, you don't know this about Meg, but Meg's motto early on the show was that she is not into big ships. She loves small ships. So in some ways, Meg, I'm kind of curious though, I know you do, you've got moderate sized ships, but Grim, in case you don't know this about Grim's favorite ship is the Kraken. And I'm sure both of you are looking at this and saying, what is it going to take for me now to crew my ship, right? I mean, because, we can look at what those minimum numbers are that CIG puts on the website. But again, and I'm going to ask Meg that, and then I'll ask you, Grim, too, the same thing, because you're talking about scale. Meg, are you seeing yourself like with medium-sized ships, or is this one of the things that why you would stay away from big ships, or does it interest you now, this level of detail?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost even making me question medium-sized ships, if I'm being honest. Y'all can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
can. I just want to make sure. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking, I think it was yesterday, 2 days ago, I was just thinking about like realistically what it looks like to play this game in the future. Because even like now, it can be hard sometimes. Like if you're thinking like larger ships, what that looks like with people who are adults with jobs, kids, lives, things like that can get in the way of like actually crewing a large ship.
Mm-hmm.
And so even being able to find a handful of people to crew something medium sized is like it's almost impossible to, or it's probably going to become like near impossible to solo these larger ships that we've been soloing now. So yeah, like the MSR is almost too much for me now. Like just looking at things like this, yeah, it definitely makes me question things and makes me look at my fleet more realistically. Just based on like, and like with that being said, makes me look at orgs more. And I can't think of the words to use. Like I want to make sure that the orgs that I'm with, the people that I play with, are, you know, maybe going to be here when the game fully launches.
Understandable.
Just so I know, like, I have a group of people that I can play with either in their ships or in my own. But yeah, this whole presentation and looking at how more complex things are going to become, you can't just like hop in a ship and fly around. Like you can just be flying around, nobody shooting at you or anything, and something like a component can just go down, and you have to go fix that.
Meg, you always have sole citizens. What are you talking about?
Yeah, sure. Let's go. Yeah, but I mean that's like it's still like,
but it's still
like 10 plus, like, you know, like we can't fully crew a insert big ship.
No, it is something. No, it is something to think about. And you've heard us say this on the show before when people dismiss starter ships, and we tell people, don't get rid of your starter ships. You know, there are going to be some purposes for having those small ships, and there are purposes for big ships too. It's just that you do have to rethink the ships. It's not that you have to get rid of them, but we tell people all the time, don't think about the game that it is now, but the game it will be later. Grim, what about you? Because something like the Kraken, like I think the Kraken's an amazing ship. I would never want it. It's a monster as far as I'm concerned. So what do you see when you look at this engineering stuff? I mean, do you get excited about it? Does it make you rethink it? What's your feeling about it?
I think for me, it comes back to how I look at ships. So a lot of people, I think, look at ships at like in terms of scale, right? So they say, oh, and sometimes I think it's even presented in the worst way when people say, oh, this ship is bigger, so it's better. I actually don't look at it in terms of scale at all. I look at it as in terms of experience, right? So to me, and I agree with you, you should never sell your starter ships, because the way I look at ships or the way I look at activities in a game like World of Warcraft, right? Your starter ships, your single player or even two player ships, those are your daily content. You're out there by yourself, you're questing, you're doing stuff, you're earning money, you're doing not actually 80% of probably what you would do in a World of Warcraft game.
Right.
Where your medium ships are you know, or medium to large ships are like your 5-man dungeons, right? You got a small group of friends together, but it's different content, it's a different experience. And then the capitals, you know, the capitals are the raids. Those are the 25-person raids, the 40-person raids. You're going to, and John Cruz said this past Invictus, you're going to probably work for 2-3 weeks preparing for a weekend where you take the Kraken out. You know what I mean? And we've seen it a little bit in the persistent hangar stuff that they've shown, and a little bit with this tuning a role for the engineers where they say you do that work before you leave.
Right.
I could see a big org prepping for, like, if they know they're going to go get into combat with their Idris, they may spend an entire week or 2 weeks with the Idris and a persistent hangar doing nothing but loading cargo, loading medical, putting backup components on there and all that. So that's your raid experience, right? So like when I look at the Kraken, I don't look at it as like daily gameplay at all. It's like once a month sort of thing. But when that once a month comes around and it goes well, you walk away from it going, that was the greatest gaming experience I ever had. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But it's not, but in terms of actual percentage of your gameplay, it's probably going to be pretty small.
Okay. Clown and Lefty, thank you guys. Hang on a second. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. We had a little low volume and they were asking me to get us back up to a normal space. Go ahead, Fastcart.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit nervous, especially when it comes to my BMM and my true endeavors. So this one makes me like, maybe I can knock it down in one endeavor. But you know, I'm still hoping that I'll be able to daisy chain my endeavors somehow. And
I've been offering you 250. I've been offering you 250 for that Banu merchantman because I knew this was coming and you won't take it. I don't know.
Only have one. I don't know why you
won't take it. I don't know why you won't take it.
You be better off buying my endeavor off of me. But you know, this gameplay.
Endeavor masterclass right now.
This gameplay that they're showing on screen, maybe you say like, this would be a fun way to implement Among Us on in Star Citizen, because someone can damage components and try to knock people out, and other people can try to find out who is it. It's like mystery theater in the game almost.
Well, I know. Gomab, by the way, just to retort to my good friend Mr. Gomab over here, who says I'm complaining about a Kraken, says the guy with an 890. Okay, he's trying to be funny. All right, first of all, 890 will have premium parts that we'll never wear. Okay, so I don't have to worry about these issues, and it's fireproof. I just want you to know that. Okay, but no, I think it does make me think about it, Gomab. To be honest with you, that again, minimum numbers and how many people really need to be on certain ships, depending on where you're going. Whether area is dangerous or is friendly. I think it's going to make a lot of people reassess what's going to be needed to run their ship. And I think the engineering role, like you said, Grim, is going to be vital. And your engineer is going to be worth their money. They're going to be worth their money if they know how to handle their ship.
Two things that will solve this problem, like, because this conversation comes up a lot where people are like, well, who's going to actually want to be like an engineer on a ship? And then you have the person that says, never me, I will never do it. And then the other people say, that's all I want to do, right? But there's two things that I think would really alleviate this is, a topic of controversy, so to speak. So one, it's up to CIG to make those roles on the ship fun to do, right? And I'm already getting a lot of hope in that, because it seems like the engineering loop is pretty in depth, right? So they're putting a ton of gameplay in that. And you see how much power you have. So even your crewmates who like a lot of control, they're not going to want to be the pilots of the ship now, because that doesn't matter. The engineers got all the power, right? The other thing they have to do is they need to be able to build a party org or mission UI system that allows us to accept missions and parse out profit percentages to players manually and or automatically, like where the game divvies it up. In order to encourage us to do this multi-crew gameplay. Right now they're putting the stuff in there for us to do it, but you still have to ask, why am I doing it, right? So we need those tools that allow us to accept a mission, let's say an org level mission, right? It's to fight a fleet of ships, a fleet of enemy ships. We need to be able to accept that mission, and then it has, just like a raid would have in an RPG, there need to be 25 sign-up spots or however many you want, and your org mates or whatever can assign themselves to it, and then profit is already like percentaged out the more people that join. When that type of stuff comes online, for one, I think you'll see capital ship sales continue to go strong, because people see the value, but then also people will be a little bit more comforted in the fact that when they buy a big ship, there'll be a incentive for someone to come on board and be the turret operator or the engineer or the whatever the other roles are, scanner, navigator, whatever. So
good point. Okay.
Pilot, etc.
Here we go.
View. That is mainly the life support controls plus controlling all doors. Again, we show the details of each room, like the temperature, pressure, atmosphere composition, so everything that is relevant for like you living on a ship. We also show the door states, where you can now have precise control over each door in your ship, as you see here. This will also allow you to have more control over which door or compartments to open. So here, again, showing opening the power plant. That also helps very much in already telling players, hey, you should repair this item, so I open that door for you, and they directly know which item you mean. It also allows us to control like the outside-facing doors much better. So you can directly open, if you just want to open the left side ramp or the front side facing ramp or the back facing ramp.
That does help tremendously. I know we've talked about the engineer person having to know the layout of a ship and knowing it well, knowing where shield generator 2 is or where this is. But if you've got somebody who has this layout who's working in the con and they open that particular hatch, it does help that person who's maybe in engineering, who will know whether it's the, like on the Carrack, there's like all these panels when you go through it, right? Which one is the right one? You have to look at it and read it. But if your engineer opens that up ahead of time, when you get there and you see it open, you know, that's the one to go to, which I think is kind of cool. It cuts the learning curve down a little bit for players in the game.
Yeah.
That is so nice.
Yeah, it's really cool.
They just didn't show any actual people on the ship. I would have loved to see how those are represented.
Yeah. Is this a C2 that you're in? This is a C2, right?
Looks like yeah. I don't see bombs.
Yeah, because
we did it last year already, but let's make our crew suffocate again. So the moment that you basically pull off their helmets, and now me pressing the cycle button, you see that the entire atmosphere in this room is vented. And yeah, well, the consequence is death. So, as you can tell, engineering gameplay will bring a lot of changes. Some of those changes are adding batteries to ships that will allow you to get a little bit of extra power for a short amount of time. Allowing you to control items directly, where it's not only their on-off state, but also their resource consumption. And where the biggest change that will come in this update is basically to the resource consumption and generation. So let's talk about energy balance. Currently, ships are balanced such that they consume less energy than they produce. What I mean with that is that the sum of all items requires less energy than the power plant will provide. And this has to change. The energy rebalance that I will explain to you now will affect mainly bigger ships. Single-seaters will still behave like they do now. For big ships, we will focus on item groups. Those require energy, but your ships will not provide enough energy to have all components run at 100% all the time. Instead, you have to decide what you want to have permanently powered by your power plant. So managing decisions will have an impact now. You could decide, as in this example, to shut down your thrusters to turn on the weapons. Isn't the best choice, since you will not be able to maneuver, so might not help when you are attacked. You would be able to shoot though. And here comes in the batteries. In scenarios where you need to react, you can activate the batteries and use the additional power. Batteries won't last forever, but you at least can power additional systems. You will be able to recharge the batteries again, but you need to free up energy from the power plant to direct into the batteries. I think that was a little bit more than just a recap, but now Guillermo will talk about malfunctions.
So I will talk about malfunctions real quick and get you guys to the next video since we're a bit behind schedule. What are malfunctions? You've seen misfires in the persistent universe for seals and for thrusters. You've seen a very basic version of it. We're making them more complex. We're making them more lethal in some ways and more fun to interact with. Also, some of the new malfunctions will include fire, spreading misfires that represent electrical surges going through the ship, or signature bursts, which increases your signature and makes you show up on enemy sensors more easily. As for how you will counter them, you've seen suffocating people with life support. You will also be able to suffocate the fire with life support, which is probably more useful. You will be repairing them, not necessarily only with a repair beam, but also replacing parts or some bespoke behavior per misfire. And if all else fails, just turn it off and on. And here's a video of the fire in action. You've seen in other videos the fire. This is a small fire. You can just put it out with a fire extinguisher. Pretty simple. It just works. Here's a bit of a bigger fire. It might be that you cannot only put it out on your own. So here we have one crew member that's going to try to put it out with a fire extinguisher. to mix results.
We didn't start the fire.
And here we have the option of using the life support system for some setup before, and just venting the area.
The roof is on fire.
Thank you, Jake, for that joke, man.
And now you can see that the fire, once we get to that compartment, has been successfully put out.
How much do you think the damage bill is going to be for that to repair it?
So let's get Thurston back on stage. You saw a lot of the systems in action, but let's get a video of one of our play sessions, which is gonna.
If you have LTI, it'll be fine.
You'll be flying around with a burnt-up ship for a while.
Yeah. I have to excuse myself already because I was leading this group of players being attacked by the Gladius, and I did a poor job. But more to that in that video. Yeah. Yeah, we wanted to talk about.
So for this demo, we have modified the damage system slightly to represent impact penetration at a very basic level. So you are gonna see that the quantum drive is gonna be hit by the Gladius attacking the ship.
So, yeah, being attacked by a Gladius for an A2 isn't like a big challenge, but in this setup we were not like fully staffed. That means we had our engineers running around and yeah, no one being seated in the turrets. So yeah, our goal was basically to flee the Gladius, and yeah, with the Gladius actually shooting the quantum drive and damaging it, I thought, hey, it's a good idea to tell Pete and Simon to repair the quantum drive as a priority. As you can see, I somehow missed that the habitation room caught fire. I tried to, yeah, well, prevent further damage to it, but yeah, I failed. Yeah, so that was causing a bit to the panic, so I even got distracted in this moment. So we managed to have the quantum drive survive, but here I notice, oh, actually the power plant also starts to take damage, and at this moment I'm also telling Pete and Simon to switch their attention to the power plant, because if we lose the power plant, it's also like almost impossible to flee. So here I realize, oh my god, we are going down fast, and I think at this point now, yeah, I opened the compartment to make it access faster, but that was already too late, so the power plant died. And yeah, so the backup is to activate the batteries, which I did here. So Simon and Pete still tried their very best to fix it, but yeah, didn't manage to. Yeah, the attack moved to the forward side, targeting the batteries, because the player who was attacking us actually knew the ship layout. And yeah, here I noticed that the second power plant is also got attacked, so have to redirect our mechanics to it. And
so let me ask you guys a question. What do you think about this when it comes to, this is a hammerhead or a large ship? You know, right now attacks on ships are pretty much just based upon hull damage and eventually destroying a ship. But what happens when you get people who actually know the layout of a ship, and you've got one fighter targeting your starboard quantum drive and then someone else who's targeting your power plant? What happens for that for the crew on the ship, you think?
Gotta prioritize somehow.
Good organization, yeah.
I'll give you.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say I think this would be a perfect opportunity for some organization within the ship. Like you could have backup quantum drives, just things like that in case it actually goes down. People can only do so much to keep something up, but once it's damaged, you got to have that plan B, C, D, and E. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see.
I think that like the small ships harassing the big ships could be a problem, especially if they just keep creating internal engineering problems for you and you can never get on your way. However, the flip side to that is if you have a really good engineering crew, I could see them continuing to bail water out of the ship even when you're under heavy combat. And if they're efficient and good enough, while they may be busy the entire time, they may make your ship unkillable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, especially by smaller ships, they may just be able to constantly
keep it alive,
counterbalance the damage you're taking to where you actually have a really long time to kill ratio where the smaller ship just sort of gives up or runs out of ammo or whatever. That's I think the balance that's going to be there is sort of how good your engineering crew is.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only so much you can do against a size 9 torpedo, so it depends on the situation. Yeah,
that's a different scenario altogether. I think we're talking about just when people are being strategic, because even a size 9, I mean, we don't even know what a size 9 will do once armor and shielding and ships or components are set up. But I am looking at I think Grim's hitting on what's the balance between a good crew, right, and a good group of people who are attacking you. And if both of them are equal, you may find that this is where you start getting into, like you said, 20, 30-minute holdouts, right? It doesn't end in 5 or 10 minutes, but it may go 30 minutes and 40 minutes. We did that when we went out to help the thing with Ops Chief. We were out there for 40 minutes going back and forth with the folks, over one single ship. Were you going to say, Go Mob? You're going to say something?
No, I just, you touched on a little bit, but I think, I think they really need to make sure that they, at some point in time, focus on the balance of this, right? What I don't want to see happen is that, hey, if I pull up to a ship in my fighter, I just scroll through the list of subcomponents to find the one that's going to shut this ship down and is most vulnerable, and that's my target that I'm shooting at all the time. So it becomes like I target the ship, I scroll through the subcomponents, and I target the coolers, or I target the quantum drive to keep you from running away, or I target the power plant, and that's just my target. There should be a level of skill that comes into play, even if it's part of the skill system, that once you get to a certain level of skill, that you unlock the ability to target that. But I don't think it should be, they just need to make sure they balance this properly. Right. Otherwise it'll just be kind of.
No, you're right. No, you're absolutely right. I think that things like shields are a factor, armor's a factor, then components, right? You've got to peel your way layer through layer to get to any of these, and it should.
And there's I could see other things coming into play too. So, for example, if I was on a Kraken, let's say I'm the captain, and I have my crew on there, and we're all going out, and then I have someone overseeing radar and scanning, and they tell me, hey, I see an eclipse who's just sort of entered our AO. The first thing I would do as the captain or engineer is order, it's kind of cliche to say, but I'd say like all power to the shields, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then, so
Shield captain?
Yeah, that gives you your buffer, right? And gives you a minute to think. It gives you a minute to assess, is the eclipse a threat? Should we try to contact it? Is it a friendly? Whatever. But the very first thing I do is throw my shields on high, and I put all the power into them. And if the eclipse makes an attack, at least I'm already prepared. So some of those other things like scanning and all that will come into play in terms of how you approach engineering from a preventative standpoint, right? So not just repairing, but preparing to go into combat or any other role you might do. So for example, if you're going to go do some mining in your prospector, you might shift more power preemptively to shields and your mining laser and all that, because you need your mining laser, but you also, if a rock explodes, you want your shields up already. So you're going to probably dial it in based off what you're doing before you get in the thick of it.
Right.
I do wonder, I mentioned this before about insurance, but I do wonder when we get more details about insurance gameplay, like a different tiers concerning components or insuring components, etc. I don't know. In my opinion, we're getting to the point where I would like to have more details about insurance, but that's for a different topic, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, insurance can be a factor. I know they've talked about it in the past, but I think that the reality is that part of the economy is loss. You know what I mean? The fact that you do have to buy more stuff. Like Meg was saying, it's not a matter of just stocking my ship up with what I need now, but maybe I've got to buy an extra set of things and have them down in my, my cargo area, so that if something fails or gets blown up, maybe we didn't get to repair it. If it hits 0, it's no good, and I'm stranded in space. So my economy is not just to stock my ship up now, but to make sure that I've got the extra parts that are needed. Insurance could be a factor in there, but insurance won't help you when you're in space. You know what I mean? That's something you claim later on. There's going to be just a lot of preparation, for whatever it is you're doing. And your engineer is going to have to be that person. I mean, don't get me wrong. The owner and captain could be that person too. But I think if you've got somebody like Meg was saying earlier, if there's somebody who flies with her all the time, and this is the person that she knows, when this person's my engineer, they're going to make sure everything I need is on my ship that I need to go out there, right? Because I'm worrying about the mission and getting crew, but my engineer knows that I'm flying my Mercury Star Runner and I need this size, this, and this. And that stuff's already stored up on the ship. So when we're ready to go, they say, Meg, we're ready. I got everything on the ship. It's ready to go. I mean, I think that roles are going to build out like that, so that you're not just this one person trying to handle every aspect of logistics on a larger ship. It's enough to do it on your one ship, but even a Connie working your way up, you're going to need help, to think about stuff like that.
I just had a funny image in my head. I'm on Meg's ship. I don't know the ship. I'm looking up YouTube how to keep it repaired. I think some people are going to be doing that for real when the game is out.
Meg, tell fastcart that job is called You're the Cook. That's what that's called. Okay, you're the cook. That's the role you get on the ship. You're the cook.
At this point, we wanted to flee, and then I realized why doesn't the quantum drive work? And as you saw, that there is a relay that also got destroyed. So here you see it very clearly that with a relay being destroyed at the quantum drive position, that means that the quantum drive cannot be accessed from the pilot seat. That means that I also had to get that repaired. So it was a bit chaotic. Everything was also happening a bit too fast. Here, trying to save the second power plant because we're already running out of battery life. So if we would have lost the second power plant, that would have been our certain death. And I think in the next part of the video, we basically asked someone to fix the relay at the back so that we still be able to jump away.
One thing I can see too
so
is
we at least managed to save one.
You remember Chris Roberts talked about last year about skill trees possibly coming to Star Citizen. I could definitely see, the more stuff you repair on a ship, you get small speed increases to how fast it takes you to repair components. So, again, someone who does a lot of engineering, a lot of repair work, I could see them being the people you want to do your repair work because they'll have a small buff to their repair speed. They haven't obviously said anything. I'm speculating with that, but I could see that being a factor.
I could see something, Gomab. Let me ask your thoughts on this. You and I both know that on these ships, there's a physics dynamic called if they turn the ship too fast, you fall on the ground. What happens when you're in the back trying to fix that quantum drive and your pilot is doing evasive maneuvers? I think they're going to have to adjust that.
It should be. It's for the larger ships. It should have less of an impact because they have less agility and less ability to make.
So there's a workaround for it. Okay.
Yeah, but one thing I was just typing, to pop stuff, right? Like that we should have, people should know stuff. But I wonder if CIG. I mean, this may be something I'm just thinking about. Maybe they have instanced. Like kind of like how you could get into the seat and go to AC. Maybe they have instance scenarios on each ship where you can either go through and do training on those ships for engineering. So you get into a scenario, hey, we're under attack by the Vandal, whoever, and you're on a Carrack that is taking damage, and you're the engineer. Certain things are popping up and they need to be repaired. You run around, and if you score a certain amount, you get your certification on that ship. And that way, that's on your thing where people know you're certified on a Carrack, Hammerhead, 890 jump, Odyssey, so on and so forth.
Kind of like the little Kobayashi Maru thing. They could do it in the Hollow thing. You could get your practice.
Yeah, just doing the Hollow thing, right? You can do it. You can get a certain score, you know what I'm saying? Or you can start with a training mission where it's kind of like, you know, they kind of walk you through like, hey, here's how you get around the ship. Here's where the different components are at. Here's how you repair. Here's how you replace, so on and so forth.
Yep. Yes.
And Griffin, you beat me to it because I'm going to say if it's a Drake ship, a certain size of Drake ship, it'd be like those Star Trek episodes we see everyone jerk or lean to one side at the same time whenever they get hit. So that's what I'm expecting.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, again, it's going to be based on the size of the ship, right? You know, and how much inertia they can impact, right? Because the 890 jump ain't throwing nobody to their ass because it can't, you know, or a Kraken is not going to be.
Well, it depends on what hit the 890. I mean, if something ridiculous.
We're talking about the pilot maneuvering.
Right,
We're talking specifically about pilot maneuvering and doing evasive maneuvers.
Yeah.
So the size of the ship is going to matter because there's only going to be so many maneuvers that the pilot can do.
And he's right, because in a Cutlass, if you're in the back and somebody does a hard turn, you feel it. But in a larger ship, you really don't feel it as much. So you're right.
Right.
All plants.
The other thing too is that he did say they were undercrewed on this. There was nobody in the turrets. They didn't have enough people on to do it, so they had to choose what to go with.
I think it was Pete running there and fixing the fuse, and the next step was the pilot trying to push the quantum drive, but it was too late. We died, and the end of the show.
Yeah, soft death kicked in.
Yeah, thanks. So, what you just saw gives a good idea of how busy ships will be and what meaningful multi-crew gameplay will look like. But what about the future? Since we worked on technology that will be used throughout the entire game, you will see more and more coming utilizing this tech. It will introduce systemic gameplay with allowing players to come up with creative ways of manipulating their environments, sabotaging a power plant or destroying a vital relay that connects it all to shut down an entire enemy base that can include its life support or security systems. It would also tie in nicely with Maelstrom that you just saw, and anything that will break off will lose its connection to the network and therefore have an impact on its functionality. So it's a real systemic feature. The technology allows us also to take further steps into the crafting profession as well as in the base building, where both are related to each other. Bases built by player will also form resource networks and come with their unique challenges similar to ships. We are all really excited about the future of this tech and all the associated features. So there's a huge thanks for all people involved. So thanks to the entire EUPU team, the vehicle teams, Jared, active feature team, and the Arena Commander team. They all were super supportive to get this behemoth into a state that you could see here. And it's something that has been a long time coming, and we are really proud of it. So thank you for sticking with us on this journey. Wait, there's one more thing. So we really want to get your hands, we really want you to get your hands on this because we already had a lot of fun with it. I hope all of you have heard of the experimental mode in the Arena Commander. So we want to bring you what you saw here as an experimental mode before we put everything into the PU. And this will be soon. So, thank you.
There we go. Okay, not bad, not bad. FC, you said we got a question in the QA on this particular one. So yeah, we can take it now. If we've got one there, we'll take a look at it.
All right, so we got one from Popped in Space. We've already taken account the person operating the ship, but what's your opinion on the suitability of an engineer for a small, medium, and large ship? Should we require exam, courses, credential of any kind, and rather be able to operate an in-game educational system?
I don't know if what I know in the lore to answer this question, Pops. For the Sega, I would say the Sega Genesis. Oh my God, the Crusader Genesis. There is lore that says that in order to fly in UEE space, that you have to be certified. And so my understanding is, in the design document, they talked about the fact that being able to do UEE flights, like from the different spaceports, that there will be some type of training. We don't know what that is. And I think Jade mentioned it earlier. The SimPod is a place where people can get checked, right? That's an option. We don't know if CIG is going to do that. What your requirement will be for someone, I think Grim mentioned it, Gomab has mentioned it before. There could be things that incrementally as we do them based on reputation, it could be review. CIG talked about like a Uber type of thing where when someone is hired, you rate them based on something and it's averaged over time. We really don't have anything yet built into the game that we know of, even though this topic has come up in many, many different conversations. Or whether you'll just evaluate people based upon your own personal knowledge. If Grim and I are in the same org and we've gone out and done stuff, and Grim might be that guy who says, Griff, if you want engineering, I'm your guy. That may be all I need to know, that this guy knows his stuff when it comes to ships. But if there's anything official, I don't know. Anybody got any thoughts on that? Go ahead.
I have a good idea for how they can make it to where we can assess people and stuff in a very real way. As someone who played Arma 3 for like 8 years and ran a military simulation unit, training was like the thing we did 80% of the time, literally training, right? To work as a unit and move together and communicate. What they need to be able to do is the main engineer, like, so your chief engineer, let's say you're all in a persistent hangar, your ship is just parked there, right? You should be able to take all the engineers, the mechanics, the tuners on the ship, and the chief engineer should be able to go to the engineering console, put it into a diagnostic mode where he can then, or he or she can then simulate all kinds of scenarios. So they can bring a power plant down to 30% power. So then people can train to run to it, find it, repair it. He can simulate a fire in a certain area, right? So it doesn't actually burn, but maybe there's like holographic hotspots or something that appear as a texture that they have to put out. Some sort of diagnostic mode, because for example, U.S. Navy members on submarines train incessantly for fires aboard submarines, right? It's like what they do in their spare time. So being able to run those training scenarios on the actual ship using the actual tools, I think would be key. And again, they could easily do that by just having some sort of diagnostic mode or training mode on those consoles that, when you go into it, allows the chief engineer to manipulate those numbers. They're not real numbers; they're fake numbers just for the sake of training.
Right.
Real quick, Griff.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't think there should be a gate, right? So, as a captain or owner of a ship, I should be able to hire whoever the hell I want. Right. If YoyoMeg says, I want to try out engineering, and she's never done engineering and she's never gotten a certification or training on the ship, it should not preclude me from saying, you are the ship's engineer, right? She should be able to do it. And if we go out and get blown up,
we get blowed up.
But if we're talking about, having a way for mercenary ship captains, right, that is looking to build out a crew to be able to tell the difference between random dude A and random dude 2, right? That's applying to be an engineer. You should be able to say, hey, this guy is certified on this ship, has gone through, has flown multiple missions on this ship and has received a 4.7 rating from previous captains they've worked with. So just to give you that information so that you can make an informed decision, right? But it should not be. I do not support there being any kinds of gates or requirements for that. It's when we're talking about org tools and tools to be able to hire people, having that additional bit of information being baked into the systems in the game, I think will be beneficial.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I'm fastcart because I never have to worry about this stuff. I just can say, hey, it's fastcart. I want to come in your ship, and they'll just let me on.
Yeah, Cook, you're right.
And in a spaceship.
I agree, and I think that we're just looking for, is there a way, like you said, Gomab, will there be a way for people to assess people to determine their skill level? But I don't think it should. Like I said, I think you should be able to hire, like you said, whoever you want, whether it's because they want to try it or because they're qualified to do it. I do want some type of barometer. And let me give you another aspect of the barometer. We look at what is the role of the captain, right? And so one of the things when I'm done with the mission is that to me, it should be also my responsibility to be able to rate everyone who was on a mission with me, so that I basically can give you that stamp of approval that says, hey, Gomab, he was really good doing the FPS. He did this, or Meg was great in the hospital. There's some type of feedback that happens that helps her reputation in the game. And if I don't do it, I don't do it. And maybe Meg says, well, Griff, did you do my report? And, I didn't have time. Well, it should be like, you know what, screw this guy. I'm not working with him anymore. I need my reputation. I'm saying they could come up with tools to help us. But like you said, they shouldn't be things that prevent you from doing anything in the game. If you want to take that risk and take on it's not even a risk, because training a noob, you know what I mean, could be just because someone has the energy and desire to do it. They've never done it before, but they want to learn how. You should be able to let them come in, but I don't know what we can use to gauge. Maybe it's going to be an org tool more than anything else. You know what I mean? I don't know. We'll have to figure out what they want to do.
We'll see what CIG
there you go
is worthy.
There you go.
Almost have. Who knows?
There you go. I'm sure they'll have something.
One thing I will say, them talking about the experimental mode on Arena Commander and this possibly coming to players soon. And I think I saw somewhere in chat someone talking about when will we ever see this. One thing I can tell you for sure, we're going to get the star map before we get this. Again, when you look at all this, it's all tied into that new map system, and they're not going to debut the star map just in terms of engineering. I think it'll be like a full-on implementation because again, it's the same map for everything. So whenever they tell us we're going to get that map, and I do think it'll be next year sometime, that may be a good indication of when. So I think we'll get the map first and just as a map, but probably soon after that, we'll see some of these things like engineering or the personal map radar system, whatever, come right in because, again, they all rely on that. It's a dependency.
Yeah, fair enough. Yep. Okay, we're going to jump into the second video now. This is Talking Ship 2953. So here we go.
Hi everyone. Have we had a good morning looking at cool stuff? Great.
That's funny, Bia.
I'm the vehicle
You're
director
right.
here at Cloud Imperium Games. And my name is Ben Curtis. I am the vehicle art director at CIG. So we're going to spend the next 45 minutes talking ship. We're going to show you some cool stuff that you've hopefully seen, some cool stuff that you're not supposed to have seen, but you probably already have, and some cool stuff, again, you're not supposed to have seen, but what you've seen is wrong. So hopefully we can clear that up for you all. Right, so that was the A1 Spirit trailer. Pretty cool video. But we're now going to do a bit of a slightly deeper dive into the actual art and visuals of the ship.
As we move into the heart of the ship, this area is kind of like really dominated by those 10 sci-fi bombs. And then we go straight into engineering, where you find the rest of the ship components that it needs. Up front, we've got a completely fully featured habitation area, suit lockers, weapon lockers, pod beds, everything you're going to need. And then right at the cockpit, we've had a 2-pilot cockpit, and I think the Crusader engineers have done a fantastic job of putting everything that the pilot needs right at their fingertips. So, in the heat of battle, you kind of might just eke out that advantage. Exterior-wise, it's classic Crusader. We've got our recessed weapons. We've got our...
We need those recessed weapons and origin ships. Thank you.
And then underneath is all business. We've got the missile racks, and we've got the big bomb bays.
Mm-hmm.
And I think overall, Crusader have done it again. They've done a amazing job of packaging something that's like super feature rich and something stylish, sleek, looks fast, but still super aggressive. And then here is one last look. Oh, or not. Okay, that was one last look of the interior.
Griffin, you just got to switch from Origin to Crusader. That's the answer.
I'm sure we can show you that again later. If you like what you saw there, that is available now on that link and a QR code there that hopefully takes you to the right place. So that is available in Alpha 3.21, which went live Thursday. I've honestly lost track of time the last few days. So yeah, that's the current. Let's talk about something a bit further in the past. So we have a timeline here from the today all the way through to today in game. And throughout that time period, we have our manufacturers in law, starting with RSI in the very near future, going all the way through to Mirai, which is this year in game.
Thank you, Harlequin.
And over that,
thank you so much for the bits.
we have some very old ships, ships that people think are quite old. We have the Hornet, we have the Aurora, and we have the Gladius.
Thank you, Toastmaster, for the follow.
However,
Toastminster.
as you can see, there is quite a gap from the current day to these old ships. So let's talk about one that is a bit older than that. So, the RSI Zeus.
So in 2130, in 2130, RSI made some major kind of advancements in quantum technology. They developed, or they released, the first ship that was kind of available to the mass market that had quantum capability. This kind of mid-range explorer really put RSI at the kind of forefront of ship development. Now, it was a really good thing, it really kind of boosted them as a company, but it wasn't kind of all good. The original RSI Zeus had some major issues with its hull integrity. That being said, there's always kind of been this demand for RSI to release the Zeus. It's kind of had this cult following that's grown up over the years. I'm kind of very happy to announce today that RSI have kind of taken that challenge on board. They've developed a whole new vehicle that is designed to ferry a whole new generation of travelers across our universe. Visually, it's something that pays homage back to the original Zeus, and something that's really is justified to have that name. And I'm even happier to say it exceeds all current safety standards and all our current ship production techniques.
So, do you want to have a look at the all-new RSI Zeus Mark II?
Nice.
Okay then. Here it is. So, we are going to hand over to Elwin and Mark to go through this, and you can see there's 3 of them there. So we're going to do a bit of a deeper dive onto these 3 ships now.
I was surprised. I didn't expect 3. I knew one was coming.
Go.
Hi there, everyone. My name is Mark Gibson. I'm the lead vehicle content designer at Cloud Imperium Games.
And I'm Owen Batchelor.
I mean, 3 is typical for them whenever they do this.
What do you guys think?
I don't remember the last time they did 2.
Awesome. All right, well, let's take some time now and take a look at this classic RSI design and see how we've reimagined it.
So when we decided we wanted to tackle the Zeus, we had to consider what direction RSI would take it in if they were going to do it today. We couldn't just remake the original Zeus because although it was obviously a massive piece of history, all it was really used for was transporting and moving around. So we had to consider exactly what we wanted to do with the ship. In the end, we decided to go for 3 variants, allowing you to pick which way you want to actually play the game. So what we're going to do is talk about those variants that we decided on in the end and go into a bit more detail with them. First of all, we have the ES. The ES is the Essential. It's the long-range exploration version of the Zeus. It's designed to let you go out for a long time and explore the universe. Next up, we have the Mark. The Mark is the bounty hunter version. This is there for you so you can actually go out, find your targets, and bring them back. It's also been purposely outfitted so that you have all the tools that you need to disable, capture, and bring them home. Finally, the last version we're going to talk about is the CL, the Clipper. Might be a name people are familiar with if they know much about maritime. This is the cargo version of the Zeus Mark II. This is designed so that you can move your goods around the universe.
Of the 3 variants, the Zeus Essential is the one that harkens back the most to the original design, with the original white on black paint job and the vertical stabilizers. We also worked to maintain the silhouette of the original, but brought that forward to modern day RSI design with tons of technical detail and layered panels. And on the underside, the landing gear and the underslung turret, as well as the entrance ladder, fold in perfectly flush, leaving behind a super smooth underbelly, just like the original design.
But you probably all want to see what the inside looks like, so let's have a closer look. Despite the sleek and slim body of the Zeus, we've been able to pack a lot into it to give everything you need when you're doing the deep space exploration. You have a fairly comfortable habitation and recreation area, so that when you're out away from home, it's not too unpleasant. In addition to that, the rear room has a 32 SU cargo capacity, as well as being able to fit a Cyclone, so if you do decide to land on a planet, you can have a look around. Talking about the loadout, it's a ship designed for 3 crew. It comes with 4 size 2 shield generators, 2 size 2 power plants, 2 size 2 coolers, and 2 size 4 pilot-controlled weapons. And obviously the lower turret that Elwa mentioned earlier is a size 3 remote turret.
Now, the Zeus Mark was always designed from the beginning to be a sleek and aggressive bounty hunter. As such, the black paint will help you stay hidden in the shadows until you're ready to strike. We've also redesigned the spine in order to embed an EMP and a quantum dampener, which allows us on the art side to really crank up the level of detail on the exterior. We've also added a second remote turret on the top.
Looking at the interior of the Mark, you see that the habitation's taken a little bit of a hit. It moved forward, but what we've been able to add in exchange for that is a massive armory. Lets you take all the different weapons and equipment you might need while you're tracking your target along the verse. Looking into the rear, we actually have a dedicated area just for the actual bounty hunter pods, similar to what you'll see in the Cutlass Blue. So you can stack up the pods and take multiple people back with you. It has less SCU than the ES. It only has 16 SCU. And it does have a different loadout with the components, only having 3 size 2 shield generators. Like Elwin said, it does have a top-mounted forward-facing turret so that you can put the pressure on the target as you're chasing them. The EMP and QD drive are designed to stop the target escaping once you've caught up with them.
Now, because the Zeus Clipper focuses on hauling cargo, we've decided to lean into the industrial aesthetic. We've covered the exterior with a warning strip paint job, and we've covered the exterior with more technical detail and armor plating. In addition to that, it comes with a remote tractor beam, which is mounted on the rear to the side of the ramp to make it easier to haul cargo in and out of the cargo hold. We've also added thrust capacity to the base of the wings.
As you can see, there is an absolutely massive rear to it compared to the others. The habitation areas have been massively pushed so that you don't get much space, but we can get way more cargo in. It actually has 4 times the cargo capacity of the S, coming in at 128 SUs of cargo. This one also features 3 size 2 shield generators, and like Al mentioned, it has a size 3 tractor beam to make it much easier to get those cargo containers in and out as you're actually playing. What do you think? So, last year, we introduced the Spirit. And if anyone that may be playing on live for the last couple of days might have seen a new ship adding to the verse, the A1.
So obviously here we're seeing the
routes with the Zeus, where we
rumored
announced
4th
it today,
variant.
and then in about a year's time, hopefully, it'll be ready to reveal to the public to actually play with. But this isn't just a concept. We're not just going to show you some images. The Zeus is actually in active white box development right now. Do you just want to have a look? Shall we? Okay.
All right, so as you guys have seen with the Spirit and with the many ships we've released thus far, our ships can, when they're finished, look absolutely gorgeous. But before any of them get to that point, they have to go through a very specific development process, and this is the first stage in that process. We call this white box. At this point, we've taken the concept, ripped it to shreds, and then reassembled it and plugged it all back together within the editor so that we can get a real good look at what players are going to see when they finally get this game. At this stage, with the Zeus, we've already ripped out all the thrusters, we've ripped out the landing gear, the turret, the seats, the beds, all of the interior spaces, plugged those guys back in, and we have what you see here. So again, the beginning of the process. At this point, we're able to jump in, start throwing in cargo, interacting with doors, getting in and out of beds, maybe in and out of toilets, and just getting an overall sense of what it feels like to interact with the vehicle. And it is very common that in this stage, we will make some adjustments from the original plan. As an example, on this ship, we've just made the decision to expand the center corridor, add a little bit more space to the rooms. And as a result, that's going to make it much smoother experience for players to traverse the interior of the ship, as well as for AI to traverse the interior of the ship. We've also expanded the main airlock that leads to the enter-exit ladder. And up here in the cockpit, we've separated the co-pilot seats a tad bit just to allow players to get in and out a little easier. So with white box, not the prettiest stage in the process, but it is essential that we nail this because it means we'll be able to deliver a beautiful ship that is also extremely fun to play.
Quick feedback from you guys on this one. You mentioned this, and CIG never really mentioned this in the early days, but they talked about making sure that AI could get around in the ships. What are you guys' thoughts about that? What is your envisioning of AI?
The hallways. Oh, go ahead, Grim.
Yeah, I was just say it all comes back to that pathing, and we haven't really seen that other than, in sort of Squadron 42 related vertical slice videos, where you see AI navigating interiors of ships. So, yeah, I'd love for them to talk more about that. They reference that constantly, almost with every new ship concept that come out. They are referencing it, so it's obviously something they're keeping in mind. But also, probably from their work on Squadron 42, they probably have a good understanding of what that metric is, meaning like they know how wide the hallways need to be in order for AI to navigate them. So, especially if they're making adjustments, for ships based off that. So.
Yeah.
Do I hear MSR rework confirmed? Because I can't see the AI navigating that stupid elevator get from the cargo deck into the rest of the damn ship.
They can go up and down the ladder, but if the elevator is up, they may be screwed. I don't know.
What ladder?
There's no ladder.
MSR.
There's a jump. It's really more of a jump than a ladder.
It's not a ladder. Okay. It's just a jump.
It's a jump. Yeah.
Okay. But I was gonna say, The C1 may be replaced by MSR, but it's not likely. I have to wait until it's actually in game. But you talk to more to Griff question though. Yeah, the hallways and that little cutout thing look kind of narrow. But I mean, it's a Mac 3 through ship, so it may not matter. But you know, it depends.
Well, I mean, this isn't the first time. Remember, part of the rework for the Retaliator, one of the things they mentioned was that they had to widen the halls for the Retaliator for AI NPCs to be able to move through the ship. So I'm just really curious as to, you know, what is that going to look like later on, you know, because they didn't talk about that in the early days.
And also probably room for them not only to walk, but there's, you know, all the beds and all that kind of stuff, all the tables, chairs, they have to be able to interact with that like we do, because I'm sure the AI crew members have some sort of endurance meter where it's
Excuse me 1 second. Did you guys freeze up on your Twitch?
No, I'm still
Everybody's good.
I had to reload.
Okay, yeah, I had to reload. Just making sure.
No, it's dead. It's dead.
It is dead, right? It went offline.
Yep.
That's what I was doing. Okay.
Network
down
error.
on YouTube too.
Yeah, it went dead. Give me 1 second here. I don't know what happened.